All right, so this is just We the People News. Okay, I'm not an attorney, not giving legal advice. Why? Because I'm not an attorney. That's why. It's no surprise there, right? Anything I do is not anything I say or do, not intended for legal advice. It's just my opinion only, and it's educational purpose only. Do your own research, people. Okay, and remember, just like in some of my other videos, anybody tells you anything is absolutely hearsay unless you research it yourself. Everything. Okay? And you're just tacitly agreeing to their terms. Implied consent. Okay? Which we're going to go back with the number one thing the courts do. Implied consent. However, why do they do implied consent? Well, let's check out this code, which, by the way, P.S., a couple of videos ago, I made it. This one is going to be a little bit more clear, and if you see my other videos, you'll recognize this one. However, let's proceed forward. Okay?
Because then you can actually see the screens. But today, I'm going to, and also want those of you who are near a computer to type in any search bar. Just go in there and type in the word US Code Section 1 or just US Code 1. Okay? If you put that in your search window, you'll find Cornell. It's Cornell Law. It's usually one of the most common sites that'll come up, and it's a good one for most sightings. And I want you to look this up, and I want you to go home and think about this. USC 1.
Okay, we're going to stop there for a second again as well. You may want to re-listen to this video over a couple of times and slowly let it comprehend in your brain and retrain it. Right? We've been taught a particular way, and it's hard to get out of that cognitive dissonance. Okay, we're stuck. So I'm just saying we need to slowly do a reboot. Okay, we just got to reboot our brain.
Even type that 1USC1. And this is the first paragraph of the entire U.S. Code. So do you think it might apply to everything that follows it? It sure does. So let's take a look at what it says, maybe what it doesn't say, and what clue it gives you as to how things are going to go if you try to argue these codes with these people. Okay? So 1 U.S. Code, Section 1, words denoting number, gender, and so forth. Sounds like it could be just about anything, doesn't it? And so forth. Stop when you read this stuff. Don't read it fast. If you have to read it backwards, because you'll find that they quite often tell you what's going on here. So, 1 USC 1, words denoting a number, gender, and so forth. That's pretty open-ended. So, what do they tell you here out the back? In determining the meaning of any act of Congress. Okay, here we go. In determining the meaning of any act of Congress. So you say Congress says this, well, let's make sure that is what it says. And then this is the word, here's the phrase I want you to write this down, memorize it, put it on your forehead, remember it in everything you're looking at. Unless the context indicates otherwise, remember that, because there's a lot of things where the context does not indicate otherwise, yet then you assume you know what it means. They tell you right at the beginning how the game's to be played. Then it goes on and says words importing the singular include and apply to several persons, parties, or things. Well, we could parse grammar, syntax grammar that thing, couldn't we? Words importing the plural include the singular. Well, that'd be a grammatical error, but hey, they set the rules that they can do that. Words importing the masculine gender, including the feminine as well. Words importing the masculine gender include the feminine as well. Well, that's kind of confusing. No wonder we're confused on that issue, aren't we? Words used in the present tense include the future as well as the present. How about that one?
And even then, I'm going to start using a couple of things different as well, right? In the documents, past, present, future. But I heard from another man, and I can't remember who it was. But what about adding on your affidavits and your notices and all that when you use past, present, future? Here and now. Right? Now you're going directly into the particular time.
So is it the future or the present? We know that in studying syntax, everything has to be in now time to even be contractual. But here they're changing up the rules. In other words, they're leaving it open to interpretation. The words insane or and insane person shall include every idiot, insane person, and person non compos mentis. Now, this is a good one because sometimes they'll say, you need a competency hearing. Maybe you're insane. Well, they can make just about anything fall into this category. And of course, insane is a negative preposition word, which means no sane, right? So there you go. IN is a no meaning word. The word person and whoever.
We're going to stop there right quick as well. Now, also, I was researching some words and all that kind of stuff. I'm also going to be putting in documents when I need to, right? Let's just say a judge says something to me, right? Objection, Your Honor. Absolute, vigorous, and, let's see. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I had a mind fart right there, right? Absolute, vague, and vigorous. Absolutely. Then sit back down. Right? What's that? What are they doing? Everything they're doing is vague and vigorous. For you to make a claim where you are supposed to be able to read what that judges are thinking, right? Or that attorney is thinking. You're supposed to read their minds. But instead, you decide to make a claim. And that's what they want, you to make the claim. So anytime a judge says anything to you, objection, absolute, vague, and ambiguous, absolutely, sit back down. If the attorney speaks up, objection, same thing. Absolute, vague, and ambiguous, absolutely, sit down. They're stuck. Checkmate. Because unless you understand what they are saying, they really cannot proceed forward. It's kind of like the Fifth Amendment. You're making a claim, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Okay? But you're asking a question now. The judge is going to say, well, you need to answer this, and it needs to be yes or no. Objection. Absolute, vague, and ambiguous. Absolutely.
Includes. By the way, when you see the word include, it doesn't mean it includes other things not listed here. It means it includes only what's listed here. Because if it included other things, they'd have to list those things too. This is a tricky one. Include is a really tricky one. People think, well, it also might include other things. Mm-hmm. Not if it doesn't say so. The word, because we're talking about legal stuff, right? The word in person and whoever include corporations, companies, associations, firms, partnerships, societies, and joint stock companies, as well as individuals. And when I click on the word in.
Now, there you go. I'm going to pause that right there where you can read that. Okay? What is a child? A person under 18. An individual under 18. Right? They've been vague and ambiguous of our everyday life and understanding. Right? They got their language. We got our language. Okay? We're speaking two different languages. And they expect the average man and woman to know what their language is. And like uneducated people in their language, okay, not educated as going to school, but uneducated as their language. They're speaking foreign language. Okay? So, an individual is trickery of words, right? It's a corporate body. The whole Walmart is a person. The individual is the boss lady, down to the clerk. They're individuals. They have their rights subscribed to them. So the boss lady has more authority. They got rights subscribed to them to boss the clerk around.
Individual, it goes into a little more detail about what that means. Go look that up. Officer includes any person authorized by law to perform the duties of the office. The office. Okay? Now, I watched the TV show The Office, and I think it's pretty funny. I didn't know that it had something to do with being an officer or a person, but it is entertaining. Now, you think what I just said is kind of strange, but actually, that's sort of a strategy you can use with this stuff. Signature or subscription. Now, this is one I get a lot of questions on about. How do I sign? Well, when we syntax, we autograph. We don't do any of these things. But signature or subscription includes a mark. When the person making the saying intended it as such. Okay, so you know that I intended this, right? But what if you qualify that mark? All rights reserved, under duress, without prejudice. Does that at least clarify what you intended? Darn right it does. But remember, you just put a mark on there, they're going to consider it. You can put an X on there, it's still considered a signature. But when you spell it out, it does help clear up the intent. Oath.
That's why you can sign a receipt and all that and scribble on it. Okay? That's the intent.
Includes affirmation, and sworn includes affirmed. Now, I'll tell you, swearing is something when I was using bad language. Now you think, well, but that's what they mean. That might be true, but do I know what they mean? Okay. Writing includes printing and typewriting and reproduction of visible symbols by photographing, multigraphing, mimeographing, manifolding, or otherwise. What's otherwise? Now, they leave a lot of open.
See? Otherwise. Everything's under their umbrella, but they extended it with otherwise, right? Vague and ambiguous. Absolutely.
Stuff here. And this begins to play its way out throughout the entire code. And you'll find the same kind of thing going on in the state codes too. So don't think just because you're dealing maybe with the state issue, this doesn't apply. You can probably find at the beginning of your state statutes something similar to this. It depends on what state you're in.
And there we go again, right? The attorneys and judges, especially judges, they probably actually know this like the back of their hand because they use it every single day. And then the teachers have the officers learn this. This is the reason why you can't get them to argue with you or anything like that, right? The officer wants to stay vague and ambiguous.
Boy, there's a lot of qualifiers here that can manipulate whatever the language is any way they want to make it, isn't it? And is it terrible? Is it deceptive? Is it fraudulent? Well, yeah, in a way it is. I mean, that's why we call it fictitious conveyance of language. They start off by telling you they're going to do this. So if they do it, is it fraudulent or illegal? No. They gave you fair notice. They're going to use gobbledygook. So the question is do you understand what they're doing?
Now, I do have to disagree with him on that, right? They put it maybe on paper that they know the average man and woman is not going to read. So the intent is to trick the people. That is wrong. So that is what their intent is. And that's what makes it wrong. So even though they put it on notice or whatever, right, and what they're going to do to you, the issue is they know that most of us is not going to read it. And if we read it, we're not going to understand it. Therefore, they get to do whatever they want to do to us. That is wrong. Okay?
See ya? Somebody says they're not getting audio, but others are hearing, so I think we're good. Must be on your end. Okay? So you guys, you see what I'm saying here? So this is the foundation we start with if you start looking at the U.S. codes. The friend of mine, his name is Kerry, and I expect to have him on in the next few weeks. Just depends on when we can work it in our schedule. But he's a master at doing this. So what he does is, you see, you don't want to go in there assuming you know.
All right, we're going to pause then. We're going to make it part 2 because I yap too much. Yap. That's what I do. Sorry, people. If you want to see this a little bit more, you know, as you are law. Okay, now some of y'all say put it on descriptions. Don't know how to do that just yet. And I'd be honest, I'm always busy. So I'm going to eventually try to learn this. However, I haven't done it yet. So I'll help you guys out on this way as much as I can. All right, there you go. Remember, this is really mostly for me to kind of put everything in a box of the hit and misses I learned through the steps, and I think it's interesting for me. And it's in my little box for easy access for me. However, I love for people out there to step outside of the box with me. And there's certain things I may not do that, you know, you guys agree on. Okay. It's just a thinking outside the box process that I can see benefit me. Remember, y'all, never look straight forward. Always look around you to be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. This is part 1.